Kate Jenkins, Australian Sex Discrimination Commissioner. Welcome to ANZ Blue Notes.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here. And I want to start with what might seem like a very obvious question. Why are we still talking about gender parity in the workplace?
It's a fantastic question. It's really frustrating for a lot of people. But having worked in the area of equal opportunity law for a very long time, so I left uni and started in the workforce in the 90s, I think we started out thinking the laws prohibiting discrimination would bring about the change that we had hoped for. But in 2016, we know we're hopeless on violence against women, we're hopeless on women's economic security, as in women are retiring with half the retirement savings of men, and we're really poor on getting women into leadership roles. And I think what we've learnt over time is, as well as setting the rules, there's really deeply embedded systemic and attitudinal barriers that are preventing women getting through the ranks. And we need to do more than change the laws. We need to change how we think, and we need to change how workplaces work.
That's a fantastic lead into my next question, which is that you have had an amazing career across the private sector and also in government, looking at workplace parity and gender opportunity in the workplace. And you've spoken recently about systemic and institutional barriers to women getting into leadership roles. Can you tell us a bit about what those barriers are and how, as organisations, we should be addressing them to break them down?
Yeah, so that has been a real learning for me, having gone from the private sector into the public sector and really looked at this problem in quite a different way. What I've realised is that, again, while the laws say you shouldn't discriminate and everyone thinks they're not discriminating, the outcomes show that discrimination occurs, that in many sectors, more than half of the graduates are women, and yet, take law for example, still only 20% are at the top end. So what I've learnt over time is that attitudinal barriers that are there, that live in all of us, are really deeply embedded views about what women are good at and what men are good at. And that often reflects men are tough and strong and leaders, and women are sort of nurturing and collaborative and, cooperative and more a carer. And in the workplace, one sounds more like a leader and the other sounds less like the leader. In our society generally, in Australia, for some reason we've stuck really closely to a very traditional model. So even though we think we've moved forward, when you really talk to people, there's still a really strong view that men are the primary breadwinner and a woman who has a child really should be staying home. And so those stereotypes are there, whether they're conscious or unconscious.
I'd like to understand from you, what is the role that men can play in promoting gender parity in the workplace? Because I know a lot of people, a lot of men in particular, don't intend to discriminate, and they might ask themselves, well, what can I do? What achievably can I do?
Yeah, that's a good question too. I think men have a huge role, partly because I don't think gender inequality is a man versus woman problem. It's not a whole lot of mean men setting out to hold down really talented women. I think it is in our society, and I think that the benefits will help men as well as women. So, as you know, I'm the chair of a Male Champions of Change group, and I know my experience with them is that they can make a huge difference. Certainly if they're in the CEO role, man or women can make a huge difference, because obviously you're holding the levers of power. People care about what you care about. So that's a fantastic place. But actually I'm just as passionate about engaging men all through the organisation. So my observation at that level is two fronts. One is I'm hearing lots of men who are saying, actually, I would like to work differently. I would like to be an engaged parent. I feel really bound up to this idea that I've got to work full time because society says if I'm a real man, that's what I'm going to do. So I hear lots of men saying, actually, I would like there to be a different way of viewing men and women in the workplace. But I also think lots of those men through the organisation, while they haven't personally experienced discrimination, once they understand its impact, I often describe it as like one of those magic eye pictures that once you sort of see it, you can't unsee it. And it's the men all through the organisation who are making decisions about promotions and development. And if a broader range of men sort of just think, let me think differently, am I picking the same person, is there a woman who I could give an opportunity to, then that would make all the difference.
That's fantastic. So Kate Jenkins, Australian Sex Discrimination Commissioner and inspirational woman, I want to say thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.